page 2. One day, I asked my father to find me a master who would guide me in my studies of Kabbalah. So we're seeing Wiesel curious, inquiring, to find a master for his religious studies. And his father responds, "You're too young for that," right? Too young. He's almost 13. Maimonides tells us that one must be 30 before venturing into the world of mysticism, a world fraught with peril, or you could say kind of fear or danger. Yeah. First, you must study the basic subjects, those you were able to comprehend. So in this passage, it's the father discouraging Wiesel and his religious studies. Quite the opposite of Antonio and his mom Maria, don't you think? My father, continuing his description, was a rather cultured man, rather unsentimental, right? So he doesn't really show his feelings or his emotions too much. He rarely displayed his feelings, not even within his family, and was more involved with the welfare of others than with that of his own kin. He was more involved with the welfare of others than with his own kin, with his own family, right? So it shows that he maybe cares for others before family. The Jewish community of Siget held him in highest esteem, right? So the Jewish community held him, my father, in highest esteem. His advice on public and even private matters was frequently sought. So we're seeing that the community really valued the father. There were 4 of us children, Hilda the eldest, then Bea, I was third, and the only son, Zipporah, was the youngest. And so here we meet his 3 sisters, Hilda, Bea, Zipporah, and Wiesel is the only son, right? And he comes third in line. It's so interesting how wonderfully our author, Elie Wiesel, uses language very simply and minimalistic, frugal with his words. My parents ran a store. Hilda and Bea helped with work. As for me, my place was in the house of study, or so they said. So the house of study is like school, even though Wiesel is mostly interested in religion. There are no Kabbalists in Siget, my father would often tell me, so no one practicing the religion. He wanted to drive the idea of studying Kabbalah from my mind, so he wanted him to distract. In vain. So Wiesel is saying he, snuck around for self-interest. I succeeded on my own in finding a master for myself in the person of Moshe the Beetle. Right? That's the same color. Good. He had watched me one day as I prayed at dusk. Why do you cry when you pray? He asked, as though he knew me well, right? And so he's crying even though he was the one who had that, kind of idea of divine suffering. I don't know, I answered, troubled. So we can see Wiesel is identifying that maybe he is feeling a little troubled. He had never asked himself that question. I cried because something inside me felt the need to cry. That was all I knew. So there's some deep sadness within. Why do you pray? He asked after a moment. Why did I pray? Such a strange question. Why did I live? Why did I breathe? So right here, Wiesel is kind of equating prayer to life and as essential as breath. So he's saying it's essential. I don't know, I told him, even more troubled and ill at ease. I don't know. From that day on, I saw him often, and he explained to me with great emphasis that every question possessed a power that was lost in the answer. Ooh, I like that. Every question possessed a power that was lost in the answer. Man comes closer to God through the questions he asks him. So man gets closer to God, and probably that's what they're studying in their religious studies. How? Through the questions he asks him. He liked to say, therein lies true dialogue or communication between two people. Man asks and God replies. But we don't understand his replies. We cannot understand them because they dwell in the depths of our souls and remain there until we die. The real answers, Eliezer, you will find only within yourself. So the real answers are only within yourself. And why do you pray, Moshe? I asked him. I pray to the God within me for strength to ask him the real questions. That him is intentionally ambiguous. Is he talking about himself and the God within me? Is he talking about maybe the God of the people? And it's meant to have no answer. We spoke that way, kind of very honest or direct, you could say, almost every evening, daily. Remaining in the synagogue long after all the faithful had gone, sitting in the semi-darkness where only a few half-burnt candles provided a flickering light. Oh, for me, I'm seeing such mood here. This is really helping to describe that mood, right? Half-burned candles shows that maybe there's dedication. They've been burning for a long time. Flickering light, we can say maybe it's half there, so it's striving for brightness, but there are still some struggles, right? And we're filled with kind of hope and also lots of questions. One evening, I told him how unhappy I was not to be able to find in Siget a master to teach me the Zohar, the Kabbalistic works, the secret of Jewish mysticism. He smiled indulgently. After a long silence, he said, there are 1,001 gates allowing entry into the orchard of mystical truth. Every human being has his own gate. He must not err, like make a mistake comes from the root error. He must not err and wish to enter the orchard through a gate other than his own. That would present a danger not only for the one entering, but also for those who are already inside. This will be a discussion prompt, one I want us to kind of look a little further in. I'm curious, what does this mean for you, for Wiesel? Oops. We'll finish this page. And Moshe the Beetle, the poorest of the poor of Siget, spoke to me for hours on end, right? That's some dedication. About the Kabbalah's revelations and its mysteries. Thus began my initiation. Together we would read over and over again the same page of the Zohar, not to learn it by heart, but to discover within the very essence of divinity. So that's kind of like meditation, to study one thing over and over again. And in the course of those evenings, I became convinced, persuaded, that Moshe the Beetle would help me enter eternity into that time when question and answer would become one.